You remember this game when you were a kid? Maybe you played this game, Space Invaders, possibly the most influential video game of all time. And programming a video game is a really good place to start. Loads of people want to get into programming games. They all want to make the latest Grand Theft Auto or something like that. But Space Invaders is a good place to start. And it's funny because how Space Invaders is made, the thinking behind it, is exactly the same as how the most modern games are made now. Even though the graphics have improved and the sound has improved and the gameplay has improved, the thinking behind it has stayed the same. And I really loved playing Space Invaders. There's lots of stuff going on. But I always felt a little bit bad for the Space Invaders, don't you? I mean, they've come all the way from outer space to planet Earth, and we just keep on shooting them repeatedly, wave after wave, putting our money in the slot to kill more and more and more Space Invaders. And it makes you think, where do those Space Invaders come from? You know, I'm dreaming of the day when the Space Invaders return and attack us and take their vengeance on humanity. Now, I want to prepare you to be ready for that moment, because it will come. It may be unlikely, but maybe it will come. So what I thought I would do is I would start with a Space Invader Training Academy. So this is a really nice thing. So I want to start with lesson 1, which is called How to Invade the Galaxy, because I want to see what would happen. And the funny thing is I found this slide, I love this. Basically, we need to plan. This is planning, do it before any invasion. If you've played the game, you'll know that the Space Invaders' main strategy is you move all the way to the left, and then you move a little bit forward, and then you move all the way to the right, and then move a little bit forward, and this is the basic attack pattern. So if the Earth is to be invaded, we will know exactly what to expect. And the thing with this is, sorry, I love this slide, I just love it. The thing with this is sometimes you think that this gameplay could be quite linear. You know, is it really all that exciting to shoot a bad guy who just moves all the way to the left and then moves down a little bit and then moves all the way to the right and moves down a bit and moves all the way to the left and moves down a bit, and when you've killed all of the enemies, we do exactly the same thing, but just a little bit faster. You know, you play the game and then the next level is just a little bit faster, just a little bit faster. Well, that could sound quite boring. Because when you think about gameplay in that way, it's a procedural way of thinking. And maybe you've seen something like this before. Procedural thinking is the easiest way of thinking, and procedural programming is the easiest way of thinking. And procedural simply means one thing after another. 1, 2, 3, 4. You do this first, then you do this, then you do this, then you do this. So you move to the left, and then you get to the left, then you move down, then you move to the right, and you know, it's a procedure. And a procedure is really boring. It's just doing the same thing again and again, following the recipe, and it's not really very exciting at all. But what makes Space Invaders so different and so unique, and what makes video games so interesting and unique, is they're not actually procedural. They don't actually happen one thing after another. They happen with a lot of things at the same time. When you think about a game of Space Invaders, it's not so exciting to see the Space Invaders move left to right, but you've got bullets that are flying, you've got scores that are being counted, you've got your little man at the front moving from left to right, shooting, and do I dodge, do I shoot, do I hide, what do I do? And even with these simple instructions, it all of a sudden becomes more and more complicated. And we can start to do different things. We can start to have certain Space Invaders moving faster, we can have them worth more points, we can have 2 players, and we can do all sorts of different things. And we can add more and more and more to it until the game becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and those primitive Space Invaders games become as big as the latest Grand Theft Auto or action adventures. And that's done through a different way of thinking. It's called object-oriented programming. Have any of you heard of this before? Maybe a few? Okay, that's good. If you've never heard of it before, don't worry, it's really fun, and it's a different way of thinking about procedural programming. Instead of thinking about one thing happening after another, with object-oriented programming, you can think about lots of different objects. Objects are completely different chunks of stuff, almost like people. And you can give different objects different messages at different times, and they do different things, but they all do them together at the same time, at their own pace, so absolutely anything can happen. And it's kind of funny, the way that I like to think about it is the difference between when you go to Subway sandwiches as to when you go to McDonald's. Have anyone been to a Subway sandwiches restaurant? You know the Subway sandwich? Okay. Subway sandwiches is the perfect example of a procedural programming, right? Because when you order your Subway sandwich, you go in and they say, well, what bread would you like? Okay, I'd like white bread. Okay. Would you like some cheese? Yeah, okay, I'd like some cheese. Yeah, would you like some filling? Yeah, I'll take chicken. Would you like it toasted? Yeah, I'd like it toasted. Would you like some lettuce? Sure, I'll put some lettuce in. Would you like some dressing? No thanks, no dressing. And then you get to the end and you have your Coke and your crisps and you go and sit down. And it's one thing happens after another. And if you really want to mess with somebody who works in Subway sandwiches, just get halfway through and change your mind. So when you go in, they say, well, what bread would you like? I don't know, but I know I want chicken. Okay, we can't really start with chicken, we need to start with bread. Yeah, but I don't know what bread I want until I pick my dressing. When you start to make changes, the procedural programming really stops working. And so you can go into a Subway and ask for a foot-long, no, 6-inch sandwich with bread. No, with no bread. I want a Coke. I want it to take away to eat in. No, with dressing. With I want it toasted. And then halfway through, you're getting it toasted. No, no, I don't want it toasted anymore. I changed my mind. They'll chuck you out of a Subway sandwich. It's never going to work. But with object-oriented programming, it's a bit like going to McDonald's. Because when you go into McDonald's, you can walk up to the counter and the lady says, what would you like? And you can stand there and say, I'll have a Big Mac with large fries, no small fries, no medium fries, no chocolate milkshake, no a vanilla milkshake, no 2 Big Macs, no 27 chicken nuggets, no big nuggets, no yes nuggets, maybe nuggets, Happy Meal, and to go. And they'll say, certainly, no problem. And you can change your order halfway through, and it doesn't really matter. Because no matter what you order, the person in the cashier, once the order has been taken, they'll say, we need 2 Big Macs, and the Big Mac guy goes and gets the Big Mac. We need 3 Cokes, and the Coke guy gets the Coke. We need 2 large fries, and the fries guy brings the fries. If any part of that breaks down, it doesn't matter. If you change your fry order halfway through, it only affects the fry guy. It doesn't affect the burger guy, it doesn't affect the Coke guy, it doesn't affect anything else. All of these things are completely separate. So the burger guy doesn't care what the milkshake guy is doing. He doesn't care if the milkshake machine works or not, how many milkshakes you're ordering, because he's just the burger guy. And when you start to have a system like that, almost anything can happen. And it might sound silly, but I'm going to show you how Space Invaders, and being a Space Invader, is just the same as being the burger guy in McDonald's, who only cares about burgers, but yet everyone has a good experience. It's a little bit tricky, it's a little bit weird, but we'll get there. Okay. One of the cool things that you can do, if you imagine this sort of burger metaphor, is this kind of structure here. Now it looks a little bit geeky, but it's got just 4 words that you need to know, which is class, object, attributes, and methods. This happens in programming, this happens in burger making, this happens all over the place for all sorts of different things. A class is like a recipe. It's the recipe for making the perfect burger. It's the blueprint to build the perfect house. It's the factory that manufactures the perfect car. Once you have a class, you can make as many of a certain thing as you want. So once you have a recipe for a burger, you can make as many burgers as you want. And every single one of those burgers is the same. If you've got a car factory, you can make as many cars as you want, and every single one of those cars are the same. And objects are these things like the burgers or the cars or the houses or whatever it is that we've just made from our blueprint. And this is kind of funny because, you know, when you play a game like Space Invaders, there's 20 Space Invaders on the screen at one time, right? And each one of those doesn't have its own piece of programming code. It just has one piece of programming code, which is the class of Space Invader. And the computer says, make me 20 Space Invaders, make me 50 Space Invaders, make me 100 Space Invaders, make me 1,000,000 Space Invaders. So if you've ever played a video game where the enemies just keep on coming, it's not that the computer is working harder and harder to make more enemies, it's working exactly the same. It's as easy to make one enemy as it is to make 1,000,000 different enemies. What's funny is these enemies in the video game, they have different things. They have attributes and they have methods. The attribute is what they know about themselves, what the Space Invader knows about itself, which could be where it is, what it's doing, what sound effects it's making, that kind of thing. And the methods are the things that it knows how to do. And a Space Invader really only knows how to do a couple of things. It knows how to move from the left to the right, and move forward a little bit, and then move from right to the left again, and keep on going. But it also knows some other pretty smart stuff as well. Most importantly, it knows how to die, because when you get hit by a bullet, a Space Invader has to know how to die, and it has to know how to report the score once it's dead. You know, it has to know that when you die, you score an extra 10 points. So this is kind of how to think about it, this class object attribute method. I know it sounds a little bit silly, but when we do it for real, you'll figure it out. And by changing little things, by changing the attributes, which is what the Space Invaders know about themselves, and by changing the methods, which is what they know how to do, we can do all sorts of different things. So I love this. This is a diagram of the many faces of a Space Invader. We have the happy one, the surprised and crying Space Invader. These are all exactly the same Space Invader, just with slightly different attributes. And everything in the video game world, everything in the programming world works like this. It doesn't work 1, 2, 3, 4. It works with lots of objects that know little bits about one another, and they know how to do things about one another. But the really clever part is that each one of these objects doesn't care about any of the other objects. So we can add in new objects whenever we want. So it makes no difference to play a game with 10 Space Invaders or 20 or 1 million or new Space Invaders or bigger Space Invaders or new bad guys. If you've ever played a video game where you have downloaded content where there's some new extra levels or some new extra graphics or game elements, that's wonderful because the rest of the game doesn't have to be updated to cope with it. So I'm going to give you some practical examples now, and we're going to do it for real. We're going to do some human Space Invaders. And what I've done is I've written some little bits of program code for some of you. And I think we're going to play the game, and I think you should come to the front and be the player of this game. So why don't you come down to the middle here, and we're going to play, you're going to be player 1. Welcome to the game, player 1. You're going to be the human in this game of human Space Invaders. So everybody else is going to do your evil bidding on your behalf. And what's going to happen is we're going to need somebody who's like a hero on the inside. Come on, who's a hero on the inside? Who's ready to defend the galaxy? Come on, someone must be a hero.
Kim must be the hero, come on.
Okay, yeah. Round of applause for the hero, round of applause for the hero. Welcome, welcome, come and stand at the front. This is going to be the front of the video game screen. And you are going to be the ship that is going to save the world. And you've got some stuff that you know about each other. These are your attributes here. So the first attribute is your color, which is green. Can you be as green as possible for me, please? 3, 2, 1, go. Green. It's not the best graphics in this game. Okay. And you also have a sound effect. Could you just test your sound effect in your loudest voice, please?
Yeah. Pow, pow, pow.
Okay. Pretty good sound effect. And you have a constructor method, which is the first thing that you do. The constructor is always the first thing, which is stand in the middle and listen out for the player commands. So you're the player, you're just going to listen out for the player's commands. And you've got a couple of different commands that you can do. The first one is move left, which is you take 1 step to the left. Move right, you take 1 step to the right. And shoot, which is you're going to grab a bullet and play the sound effect. So you're going to grab a bullet and go pow, 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 okay?
Yeah.
So now the nice thing is you only know 3 things: how to move left, how to move right, and how to shoot. And so that's all that you can yell: left, right, or shoot. You can yell, for God's sake, save the galaxy! But nothing's going to happen because he doesn't understand that command. And if you've ever yelled at a video game, you'll know that it never works. So you happy with that? You ready to save the galaxy?
Yeah, I think so.
Wonderful. Okay, the next thing we need is we need a few people, maybe we need like 6 or 7 people who are truly evil in some way or another. Okay, I think we got some truly evil people over here. You guys, I think you look a little bit evil this morning. You can be evil. You're evil today. Are you feeling evil?
Give me Jan one. Jan's truly evil.
Okay. Okay, so coming forward, you're truly evil. Maybe we need a couple more. Okay. So come here, evil ones. You are the space invaders, ready to take over the galaxy. Maybe we can have a couple. You've got to be. You can't be hiding in the back there. Okay. Now, you're all running the same piece of programming code, so you're all acting the same. And your color is also green. And you have a sound effect as well, which is the classic Space Invaders sound effect. And you always get this wrong, so we're going to have to do a quick rehearsal. On 3, I want to hear your best Space Invaders sound effect, which, if you don't remember from the original game, is a really nice noise, okay? Right, so I want to hear your best 3, 2, 1, go! More menacing! More menacing! With feeling! With emotion! Okay, you're almost ready to take over the world, but you'll do for level 1, okay? And you also have a score value. This is an attribute, so you are worth 10 points. That's what your life is worth. I know it's not much, but whenever you say, what is my life worth? Now you know, 10 points. That's it. That's all you're worth, 10 points. Okay, so you have some rules and things that you know how to do too. The first thing is the constructor, which is the first thing that you do at the start of every game, which is you stand in the classic Space Invaders pattern at the back of the room, and all you have to do is keep on animating until you're hit by a bullet. So basically, you're going to go to the back and keep on animating, and you recognize the animating piece of code, which is move all the way to the right, and if you hit the wall, move all the way to the left, and then move all the way to the right again. All the time, whilst you're doing this, play your sound effect, your the whole time. You keep on going. No matter what happens, you are hell-bent on destroying the universe. You keep on going until you are hit by a bullet. If you get hit by a bullet, there's 2 things to do. The first thing is to die a horrible death. Now, what I want now is none of these crappy graphics. I want proper graphics here. So when you get shot, I want you to die on a Shakespearean level. I want the most dramatic, the bullet, right? There will be an Oscar for the Space Invader with the best death. I want it drawn out, spiral of horror. I want coughing, I want bleeding on the floor. I want the other Space Invaders to maybe cry a tear for their fallen comrade. Whatever you can do for your Oscar-winning performance. Okay. Once you've done this, the actual instruction is wave your arms around and drop to the floor in an impressive display of destruction. Okay. Then, once you've done that, you're going to tell the score object to increase by a certain score value. And I think we're going to have score objects is going to be over here. Can I give this one to you? I know that you said you didn't want to run around too much. So your score object, you have a really nice piece of code, because what you've got to do is at the start of every game, you've got to reset your brain to 0, which maybe is easier for some people than others. And then every time someone comes to you and they tell you that they've died, ask them their score, and they'll tell you that number, and you just have to keep on totting it up in their head. So at the moment, their score is all worth 10. But later on, as we tweak it, maybe they might be worth a few extra bonus points. So we'll be able to count the score of the game as we play along. So Space Invaders, after you've died your horrible death, don't forget to keep score. Now, the last one. Okay, if all of you Space Invaders would like to move to the back, and everybody else would like to come forward, please come forward. I have a very special job for you. And this is where you'll sort of regret not volunteering to be evil, because you have to be the bullets of this video game. And the Space Invaders are already plotting your demise. You're gonna go. There's no escape. Okay. Now, the bullets have the most important job, because without the bullets, you know, Earth cannot defend itself. So what you've got to remember is just one little thing. Who fired you? And that's really easy at the start because it's going to be player one and fire. And what I want you to do is to stand here at the back of the room. So come back here, stand at the back of the room. And maybe in the nice line or something. So we've got a nice little line. That's it. Now, you don't have to do anything until the player tells you, until the player fires you. So you only have one thing that you know how to do, which is to shoot. So if you are the next bullet free in the line, you have to move to wherever the player is, and you have to run as fast as humanly possible in a straight line towards the spaceship. And when you do it, I want you to make a really cool whizzy noise, a nice bullet sound. So can we test your bullet sound? I think that's kind of noise, okay? Ready? So 3, 2, 1. Okay. Space Invaders, be worried. Your noise was crap compared to this. This sounds aerodynamic. This sounds wonderful. Okay. What I want you to do is keep on going until you either hit a Space Invader or you hit the back wall. Once you've hit the Space Invader or you've hit the back wall, come back round and go again. Now the nice thing about this is you don't care whether you hit a Space Invader or you hit a back wall. You don't care what the Space Invaders are doing, you're just running in a straight line and hoping that you hit something. So none of this homing beacon, I don't want you to sort of like swerve and catch them, you're straight missiles. And also Space Invaders, play fair, you're moving to the left and the right, not ducking and diving with some evasive maneuvers, okay?
Adam, we found a glitch in the code.
What's that?
We don't move forward.
Well, no, not in this round.
Oh!
Not in this round. Okay. So this is how it's going to go. So this is going to be a very complicated setup. So when we start to play, you're going to yell left and right and shoot, and you're going to take a step left or right and shoot, and when you shoot, you're going to throw one of these poor unfortunate people. They're going to run past making their ridiculous noises to the Space Invaders moving left and right. And you're going to hit them, hopefully. The Space Invaders are going to die their ridiculous death, and they're going to top up the score at the back here. So Space Invaders, once you're dead, don't forget to top. So actually, maybe Space Invaders, when you're dead, you should move over to this point. And would you like to come around and take the score over here, just so that we don't get squashed by all the bullets? It might be easier. Now this is a lot, this is complicated, there's a lot to focus on, but you only have to worry about the bit that you're doing. You don't have to worry what everybody else is doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count down for the first game, 3, 2, 1, and once the game starts to play, Space Invaders are going to move, you're going to start to yell left and right, and I'm just going to stay the hell out of the way, okay? So, when you are ready, level 1 begins in 3, 2, 1, go! Go on, Space Invaders! One right and two. Pow, pow, pow! Is there one Space Invader left? No. No, okay, is that it? It's game over? Okay, good stuff. Round of applause, everybody. Well done. for this one, to bring a bit of strategy, we're going to take a few upgrades this time. So as you're moving left and right, don't forget you can grab the bullets with you and throw them in the direction that you think will help them to bring in a bit more play of the left and right. And bullets, you can run even faster this time to be a bit more menacing. And Space Invaders, I think, were you one of the last Space Invaders to be hit? Okay. So now there is a bounty. I'm going to change the attribute over here. If you hit this Space Invader only, the score goes up to 100 points. Okay. What was the score that we got for this round?
12. 120.
120. Okay, so there's now some bonus points going on now. So maybe Space Invaders, you might decide to hide your bonus Space Invader behind a shield, like a human shield of some kind. Also, Space Invaders, this time I'm going to change what you know how to do with your animate method, and I'm going to change it in two ways. The first thing is, every time you move to the side, you're going to take a step forward. And the second thing is, as you're animating, do it with feeling and more menacing, destructive power. So I want to see what it really is to take over the world. So you can be a little bit faster, a little bit meaner, because this is level 2 and you're going to be encroaching. So bullets are faster, Space Invaders are faster. This is going to be hard gameplay. And if anyone gets down to the front there, it's game over for the player and he has to put another coin in the slot. Okay? Does that sound good?
Yep.
Okay, let's reset for level 2 and let's see what happens. So you can have one more together. Going just to reset. You've got to kill all of them and don't forget the bonus.
Sacrifice it.
Okay.
Ready?
So are you ready for level 2 in 3, 2, 1, go! It's getting close, it's getting close! Oh, game over, game over! Oh my goodness. Good stuff, good stuff. This is wonderful. Okay, well what happened was, that was pretty good. What was the score before death? What did we get to? 80. Oh, so the points are going down. That's not so good. So I think what we need is one last thing. We need to continue for level 2. We need one more go. So Space Invaders, if you'd like to resume your attack position, but this time I'm gonna give the player a little bit of an advantage. This time I'm gonna give you a double weapon. Okay. So this time, every time that you hear the word shoot, you're not going to grab one, but you're going to grab 2 bullets and throw them in whichever direction you think is going to work for you. So bullets, you're going to have your work cut out, because of course as soon as you get to the back of the screen, you've got to join the back of the queue and see if we can defend the galaxy with double bullets. But of course, Space Invaders, this means that you've got a tougher time because there's twice as many bullets coming through. So I'm going to add something new to your programming code, and it's called evasive maneuvers. So when you see a bullet, if you think it's for you, feel free to just duck a little bit, move, hide, change attack formation a little bit, whatever it is that you've got to do to be a little bit more evasive. But you're still moving forward, you're still being menacing, and you're still making your ridiculous, beautiful sound effects. Okay? Are you ready for this? Double bullets and evasive maneuvers. Let's see how many points we can score in level 3. Okay. Oh, the bullets are primed and loaded. Look at this. 3, 2, 1, go! well done. You've got the 100-point Space Invader there. What was the grand score? What was the high score there?
He got the 100?
Yeah.
180 then.
180, a new high score. Round of applause for a new high score. Good job. Now, what's funny about this is we can test all sorts of playability and we can find what's fun and what's challenging. And of course, the more that we add to it, the more ridiculous the game becomes. And that's why Space Invaders, the first game, becomes so simple. You can only do one thing, left and right, and shoot. And the future games have bigger power-ups, better graphics, better levels, better attacks. And now on modern video games, you'll see things like artificial intelligence, you'll see hundreds of different weapons and explosions and physics and all of these things. But all it is just adding new rules, new capabilities, new methods, new attributes, but the principle remains the same. There's nothing about this experience that is linear. There's nothing about this experience that can be described by one thing after another, after another, after another. So this is a new way of thinking about playing and a new way to test things out, because sometimes it's fun to see what's going to work on a computer by acting it out for yourself. It might seem silly and it might seem ridiculous, but some of the best games are based on real-world situations. Some of the biggest military simulations are praised because they are realistic, not because they are fantastic, and people love it when things feel realistic. So you can play to bring reality into your game. Even if you can't code, even if you don't care about programming, you still care about having fun and know what makes you smile. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this human Space Invaders, and we can relax now. And James is going to take over for the next session.
Great. Thanks very much.
Yeah, round of applause.